This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
Death is not the end. Other lives and other realms await us. Of these, none is more miraculous than our life between lives. Valeria Teles interviews Karen Joy, the author of And Other Lives, Other Realms, Journeys of Transformation. Karen Joy, a past life regressionist with 20 years' experience as a private practicing psychologist, is author of several best-selling books, including Wisdom of Souls, Case Studies from the Michael Newton Institute, and Other Lives, Other Realms, Journeys of Transformation. Her latest book, Lost Souls, Wise Souls, How Challenging Past Lives Shape Our Future, published by Llewellyn Worldwide, will be out later this year. Karen is a member of the Michael Newton Institute and lives in Australia, where she conducts past life and life between lives regressions in person or via Zoom. As well as accessing past lives, her clients meet spirit guides, soul relatives, and visit the interlife in their sessions. They receive high-level guidance from spirit guides, including assistance with any emotional or health issues, relationship challenges, and general well-being. Many clients describe their sessions as life-changing. Meet Karen at lifebetweenlivesregression.com.au. Here's the interview with Karen Joy.
In your own words, who is Karen Joy?
My name means pure joy. So that's what I'm working towards. And I'm like everyone else. I'm a soul inhabiting a physical body. And the work I do is to help people also do that, to be aware of their spirituality and, to express that in their lives.
I want to thank you before even we begin for the work that you do, because it means a lot to me and everyone. Even if unconsciously we don't know about you, not aware of, but it's a ripple to me. Everything that we do, it creates that ripple. It touches, and in a ways, everyone in a ways that's unimaginable. So thank you, Karen.
Pleasure.
And my first official question is, what is life to you? What is death? And what is the balance between them?
Oh, that's a good question. Life is permanent. Life continues to me. It goes on. It's eternal. And here we are inhabiting these bodies, experience life on a planet. And death itself, of course, to me and to the people who come to see me, usually, doesn't exist either in any real form. And I guess the balance between the two, it's experience. It's the pendulum, flowing backwards and forwards, because I work with regressions, past life regressions and life between lives regressions. So life is like the pendulum. We come in, we go out, we go backwards and forth, and we learn as we come each time.
What do you think is the main lesson or lessons that we are here to learn?
Oh, the main ones. There's so many.
Yeah, right. I can imagine, Karen.
There's so many. I think we're here to develop wisdom, to develop wisdom over lots of experiences. I think experience itself is the teacher, but then we need to integrate that experience. And some people have lives where they do that. And I'm not sure exactly what we're learning, but I think we are developing some sort of thinking ability that we can take with us at the end of our long journey here.
With that learning, experiencing this life in a human body or having these experiences over and over, is that connected to love somehow, Karen, from your perspective?
Yes, absolutely. Well, the love, what I see is the love is the glue that keeps us here, we're separate. We've separated from some larger self being, maybe source itself. And I think when we're separate, it's the love that brings us back. It's the love that keeps us connected. So love, I think we are love, and our experiences on earth are very challenging sometimes, and the love gets covered up, if you like, that's the word I would use, with other urges and other thoughts and desires, especially having a vulnerable physical body. So I think the love is always there at some level anyway, but it just gets, we get disconnected, if you like, for a bit to some degree. We're never really disconnected.
Oh, we are never really disconnected, right? We're just not aware of the disconnection.
We can disconnect, but that never disconnects from us, yes.
Do you ever use the word God?
I can't. I'm not afraid of the word God. Some people in the New Age movement are, but I'm not afraid at all. Like God, source, doesn't really matter. Higher power. I'm happy with that word.
Let me ask you a question about death, losing the body. For some of us, or most of us actually, it's scary even to think about it, that moment. So what are some of the misconceptions about death that most people have?
Well, the first one is that people fear death, as you said, and they're afraid, I guess, of what will happen and how it might happen. But the guides have said to me, because I'm communicating with guides through my clients all the time when we do regressions, they've said death is beautiful. And I said, is death beautiful? But what about traumatic death? And they said, no, all death is beautiful. And I guess I've realised that all death is beautiful, but I would put a little if on the end, if you surrender,
Yeah.
because eventually people do surrender, like eventually, but often they may have died 1,000 years ago, but in my office we go back to a unresolved death, if you like, where the person is still fighting for life, and then it is beautiful because we surrender. Once we've surrendered, it is beautiful. So I would say death is beautiful. We've misunderstood it. It's like a birth on the other side.
I love that, surrender. Yeah, that's such a wonderful concept, to just give yourself to life. Is that how you define surrender, Karen?
Surrender is letting go. It's letting go of. So if you're dying, and I'll give you just an example, if that's okay, quickly. Quite often people have drowned, in a past life, and they're fighting for their life. They don't want to die. And this is true of lots of deaths. They don't want to die, and that's understandable. Sometimes we're young. Sometimes we've got families and things we don't want to leave. So we're fighting for our life. And what I find is that when we go back to that experience, it's just finding out what's holding them, because they're earthbound. These are earthbound souls. Finding out what's holding them and then reassuring them, and then they let go, and that everything goes quiet, because in that moment they're reconnecting and they're leaving. And it's a beautiful experience to be able to help people transition who are stuck. And Valeria, a lot of us are stuck. A lot of people don't realise how many of their past selves are stuck.
And that is interesting you say that, because in your book you also mentioned about this resistance. Some people don't want to do life regression, and I'm one of them. So I'm wondering if there's something there that I need to know, because there is a resistance. Yeah, but I want to do that. Maybe I will do it with you, Karen.
Maybe. But it's interesting because not everybody is meant in every lifetime to do it. To do a regression. Some people are called to do that. So I think you have to be called, but if you're feeling that you're being called, it can be traumatic until you go through whatever you're going through. It can be traumatic. I find that I do get those sort of cases, maybe because I've been a psychologist for 25 years, doing normal counselling, but then, of course, people were starting to go into past lives. That's why I changed. And so not everyone's meant to do it. So that's a thought as well that you could consider, that is it right for you this lifetime? But if it is, yes, you do sometimes have to be brave and really want to find out what's there.
I'm curious about it, but it's not something that I feel propelled to do it, that I must do.
Yeah, I would trust, I believe in trusting your intuition, because even though there may be stuff there, is it right to surface it this lifetime? Maybe, maybe not. I've got another book coming out later this year, and that particular book, it's called Lost Soul, Wise Soul, how your challenging past lives shape your future. So that book is talking about people who go into very dark lives. So that can be very challenging if you end up going into lives where you've been a victim or a perpetrator. So you see, that's challenging. So you've got to be ready to do that.
How do we know when we need to be brave and do life past regression sessions? What
I would suggest is that when it keeps coming up and you keep feeling a pull towards it, like the idea comes up and you think, oh no, I don't want to do that. Then the idea comes up again. If it keeps coming up and it's, I think probably that's one of I trust that intuition, that's one of the indicators. I trust your intuition. And if your intuition is keep pulling you towards something, yes, then I think maybe that's when you should do it. That's what I find. That's what I find with the clients, and that's what I suggest to them. That if they feel it very strongly, they feel that they need to come. So it's a feeling, it's an intuition.
Other question I have for you. Another one is about the how many lives we have had. Is that possible to know? And also, is that possible to know when this is the first time in a human body?
I don't know anybody who's come for the first time in a human body. They don't seem to come for regressions.
Right.
Yes, it is possible to know. We just ask, and quite often, the thought pops in, the number pops in. But there's two sorts of people. There's people who've been here on this planet and done their evolving on this planet, Earth. And so they often have had, by the time they come to do regressions and they're moving along, they've usually had over 1,000 lives. But the ones who have come from other places here to help, there's people who've been on other planets. Some of them only have had a few lives, the less lives, but they've got a lot of experience on other places. Some that are similar to Earth, but Earth is a bit darker and heavier than a lot of other places that they come from. So I don't know if that answers your questions, Valeria.
Yes, it does. It does. Yes. So you actually don't know anyone who are here for the first time, and usually they won't be interested in life regression anyway.
That's what I would think. Yes.
What is the meaning of healing to you? What is to heal?
Well, I think healing is reconnection with your higher self, true self, God, whatever words you wanted to know, what you use. That's what I think it is, really. Basically, I think it's connection. And to connect, we have to release what's in the way of connecting. So all those heavy emotions and experiences that get in the way. I think it's healing in the psychological sense and in the physical sense. I think that reconnection or being connected can heal.
What is your idea of freedom, Karen? What is to be free, finally?
Whenever I think of freedom, I think of responsibility. I think to be truly free, you have to take on responsibility. It's sort of, again, we're talking about being in order, being aligned with your higher self and your thoughts and your actions, just being aligned with all of that. And then you feel free. Like that is a freedom. but you also end up being responsible as well and it's easy to be responsible, to look after, keep things in order, to make sure your life is going along well, looking after your health. So I think freedom, I don't know if you can be free until you've got those things sorted.
That is fascinating to me. I believe that too, that freedom comes from responsibility. So it's not something that is this reckless place where you don't have anything to do or tend to. It's quite the opposite.
I think that's a false freedom, that one, that you let things go and you run away from things. I don't think you're going to really feel deeply free as you would if you had things in order. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. It's kind of a fun question to ask. What do you love most about being in a human body? And what has been the greatest challenge for you?
Oh, that's interesting. Yes, being in a body, it's hard to know unless you compare it with not being in a body, and that feels pretty good too.
True.
But yeah. But I've been a male in my last few lives, and I'm a female in this life. So I like being in a female body. Yeah. If I can look at it from that angle, I like being in a female body where I can be. I don't have to compete so much. I don't have to be strong all the time. I can be vulnerable. I don't think we like vulnerability, but it's great to learn how to manage vulnerability because our bodies are vulnerable. But all the things you can do, all the lovely things you can do in a body, like you can smell beautiful flowers and hug and love somebody, all of those senses, that's what I love, and see beautiful things.
What has been the challenge for you, if there is one?
There's not one.
Tell me about it.
Great if there was just one. I've had a lot of challenges. I thought about this. I've thought about this in the past, and I think I listed a few challenges in my mind. Leaving a violent relationship when I was young, when I first married, that was one challenge. I had an abusive childhood. That was a big challenge. I had, I think it was all meant to be now, of course, but so that was difficult. Then I've got getting together with my current husband. We were both married to somebody else. We've been together for 26 years now, but that was a challenge, getting through all of that. That's disturbing families. So... And another thing was a court case of 3 years that was initiated by a close friend that went on and on and on. I don't regret one thing that's happened, though. Challenges are there to make us stronger, and they work. They work. They do make us stronger.
And you made me think about being in a female body in this lifetime. I'm wondering, when you were in a male body, if you had the challenges of abuse, because it's very prevalent in women, unfortunately.
It is. In those lives, I was a soldier, and so I had that challenge, the challenge of being a male and being vulnerable in that way. So, and I remember that. I think I have integrated my male and female to some degree, which is a great relief, especially after the abuse I've had this lifetime. So I'm sort of at peace with all of that. Yes, I agree. And the masculine, I see that's challenging as well. Like, doesn't matter whether we're in what body we're in, being on this planet is going to be challenging, I think.
True. Different challenges. So true.
That's right. Different, but still challenging.
Yes. Yeah. So you wrote the book, Other Lives, Other Realms, Journeys of Transformation. Two main or initial questions for you, Karen. How did you become a writer, and what was the main inspiration and intention of writing your book?
Okay. Can I do this? The second one first?
Yes, absolutely.
The intention with writing that book and the other books that I've written is the same. I have the privilege of listening to people going through these lives, these past lives, and putting themselves back together again. And I was very skeptical. And as I've progressed, I've lost that now. And I understand a lot more of how everything works. And so I have this call, I feel a call to share what I've learnt with others to help them to understand how things work. So that's the reason that I'm writing. To be a writer, when I was very young, I had this, even I think around about 10, I had this feeling that I would be, I think in those days we called psychiatrist or something like that, even came to me when I was about 10, and a writer. And I remembered it, but it sort of drifted away for a long time. And so that was the first idea, and I wanted to be a writer. And then my husband he studied writing. He is a writer. He's an author who's been published. And so I had a friend of a client somebody recommended me to a newspaper, so I started writing a column in a newspaper, our state newspaper, 20 years ago, actually, over 20 years ago. And I did that for a decade, and my husband coached me. So that's how I became, and eventually fate came and made me start writing. And then I had a wonderful husband who helped me to do that.
Oh, that's such a gift, isn't it, Karen?
It is a gift, and it's hard work as well, Valeria, to write well. So, but, I'm still a learner. I'm still doing that. But I really like to make my books and what I write clear as possible.
Yeah, and you do that beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you
for sharing your wisdom. I know you kind of initiated that topic earlier, but I would like to explore a little bit more. How did you choose? What was that moment that you knew the calling to become a past life regressionist?
The moment was probably either during a regression, the first one I did, or soon after. It was just a feeling that, maybe I should be doing this work. Now, already I was a psychologist, and I was already having people going into past lives, during my sessions, which you're not supposed to do in this country. You're supposed to be very, sort of clinical and counselling. So I already had that happening, and then I went for my first life between lives regression. Well, you do a past life regression, then you do a life between lives regression. And I just had this thought came in that maybe I should be doing this, and that's when I trained with the Michael Newton Institute, and soon after that. Yeah. So that was over a decade ago.
So it was listening to your intuition, wasn't it?
Yes, and I think I have all my life, even though sometimes I didn't realize it.
We might be doing that all the time, but we don't know. We don't have a label, a name for it, but we are doing it anyway. Everything might be orchestrated. Is, from my perspective, the invisible world.
Yes,
that's what I see.
I agree. Yeah. I agree, and we still have free will but within that parameters. But yes, I do agree that it's planned.
So talk to me a bit more, Karen, about how it works. Do you offer sections online and in person? And what is the process? So I know, and the audience knows as well.
Yes, it is. I do offer it online, and I do it personally and online. The process is to relax the body so that you feel safe and secure, so that then your attention can go off your body and off your surroundings and move into other lives and other realms. So you are bringing that, you are bringing that information back into the present. So it would be, if you were just remembering now a childhood memory, right? If you closed your eyes and thought of a childhood memory, it's very similar to that. So, but you are there and you are experiencing it. That's the power of regression, is that it's not only giving you information, which you do get coming in, you also have the experience of the joy, the pain, everything that you need to have. The guides guide it. The guides do it. I don't do it. I just suggest you go to a past life, for example, and then the guides lead you, and they're so fascinating the way they do it. It's like a jigsaw puzzle in the beginning. You're getting, information, and you sort of think, that is weird. And then as we go further, it makes sense. It's like comes together. I'm in awe of those guides that do that, or whoever's doing that, and the way that it unfolds. So that's the process. You're relaxing, and then you start using your imagination. You have to use your imagination because that's how they communicate with you, through thoughts, ideas, images, impressions, feelings. That's how it's coming through into you, and you just start going with it. And once you start on that journey, once you start in there, you're in the story. And even if you've got to go to the bathroom or something, you come back and you're back in the story.
And is this similar to hypnotherapy, Karen?
It is.
Oh, it is.
Excuse me. It is hypnotherapy. Yes, I'm relaxing you so that you. But see, hypnotherapy is something we're in and out of every day. We're in and out of trance every day. It's not. People think it's very magical, but the other side, and moving your attention there. If you're clear, if you haven't got something in the way, it's actually very easy.
Nothing to be afraid of. Are there any risks?
I haven't found any. I feel very confident no matter where we go, where we go in that regression, because we set it up so that it's safe. We ask the guides to keep away anything unwanted so we can trust the information that we receive. So as far as I'm concerned, it's very safe. I have never had a problem.
Also, talk to me about the benefits. What are the main benefits that we get by doing that?
I'm going to use this word. Yeah. I think it just came to me. It's enlightenment. And it doesn't mean full enlightenment, but it means you're enlightened, because just about everybody says, I feel much lighter because we've let go of something that we didn't need. So when I use the word enlightenment, I know that's a sort of a noun, or let's say it's enlightening. So it lightens you. You get more information. You understand things more clearly. Not everything, but whatever it was you were working on, and it's that aha, that moment. And then, of course, you're taking with you usually the experience of being loved. Like the first one I did, I felt so much love that I felt my circuits were going to blow out. So that feeling of love comes in usually as well, which is with nearly everybody. That's what the guides do. And so you have a personal experience. It's a journey, it really is a journey.
And I love the benefit of clarity, because that leads to deeper understanding, that leads to reconnecting to spirit. I love that, Karen.
Absolutely.
Do you also help people who are going through the grieving process?
Yep. Absolutely. People who have grief, sometimes they want to, when they come for a regression, they want to meet their loved ones, and often they do. They meet loved ones on the other side. But, grief, even when that we go on, it's still painful losing somebody, terribly painful, because they're not around anymore, So I think what I'm doing with them is giving them a safe space where they can feel that grief. And so quite often when they connect with it, because some of them push that connection away with the grief. And, of course, that's pushing yourself away. That's disconnecting from yourself, and it's not healthy. So often I think it's just the environment that I'm creating, but the guides are creating, where that can come to the surface and people can start feeling the grief, because that's how we release. We release through feeling. And yes, so definitely grief is something we work with, and it does make a difference when people meet their loved ones on the other side. It's just so loving. It's great to be there, and it's a privilege to see that happen and be part of it, because it's so amazing.
I love this idea that we can transform pain into something beautiful, like love. Just return to love. And it is possible. And I see in your work that this is very much possible. Thank you so much, Karen, for doing what you do.
Thank you.
And I will be definitely sending you some clients, some people around me. They do need it.
Well, can I just say that
yes.
at the moment I am booked well ahead. Uh-huh. I just need to warn people that. But also the Newton Institute is where I trained. And so if anybody is over there and they want to see somebody personally, there's hundreds of trained people from the Michael Newton Institute. So you can go there as well. I just thought I'd better mention that because at the moment I think I'm booked out till October.
In your book, you say one of the most difficult challenges we face in our physical lives is navigating our relationships with others. And that is so, so true. What do they represent really, Karen? And why is it so challenging for us, relationships in general?
That's a good question, Valeria, because there's so many answers to it. But I think I always go back to the personal. I was a marriage counsellor, like I counselled couples, and if I had couples come in, I always went back to doing some individual counselling with each of them, because we're carrying within us some of these programs from our childhood or even other lives that can interrupt that make it more difficult to get on with each other. You know, we get triggered. And so I think that's why it's difficult, because we are carrying with us maybe something that happened to our grandmother or something that happened, you know, in a previous life. We've actually got these things in us that we need to clear up. And when we react, when those buttons are pressed, people they are then in a trance and they're not present and thinking clearly about what's actually happening. They're overreacting. So I think that is a big problem in a lot of relationships. We don't realise how much baggage we have, and that when we overreact, we need to be aware of that and then start working on it if we want to have very happy relationships.
And speaking of fear, anger, anxiety, depression, and all these manifestations, are they connected to past lives too, Karen?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah, right.
Not all of them.
Right.
I never know whether something that somebody's come in with, some fear, some anxiety or situation, whether that's from a past life or current life or from an ancestor. Sometimes it's ancestral as well. So you don't know that, but yes, it absolutely can be. And it can have a big hold on us too and disrupt us. I would suggest that your listeners, if you're overreacting or you're reacting very strongly, anything that's very strong can have it's got a history. It's got a history. We're just not sure where the history comes from. But they can consider that past lives could be one of those, right. One of the sources of it.
So that's a great suggestion. Way to know it's when it's charged, really strong. The emotions. So we're almost at the end, and I have a few more questions for you. But before I ask them, would you like to add anything or read a passage in your book?
I don't mind either. I can read a little passage, I think, here, if you like.
Yes, please.
This is a story of somebody who from a past life, and it's just the end of the life. They've been together. They didn't have children, and she is dying. And so I just thought that might be a bit of a pleasant passage to read. So the husband is Simon. I'm lying in bed and Simon is holding my hand. I'm only 60, but my heart and lungs have run their race. Simon kisses my hand and I see the tears in his eyes. He tells me he has no regrets. He loves me. I'm beautiful to him. He's going to miss me. I tell him that I love him too and that I regret leaving him alone. Now, at the end of my life, I sense the richness that children can bring. Our relationship was strong. Between us, we would have created a functional and happy family. Might just leave it there. That was a story where she didn't have children in that life.
Right.
And she was still struggling to have children in her current life. Yeah. And, yes, so I think I'll just leave that little passage with you. That's all.
Yes, yeah, and then we can just read the book and read the rest, because right. You have so many of them. Fascinating, life-changing stories, really. A question came to mind about the end of our lives. I noticed that around me, people have passed on around me. They fear not as much leaving the body themselves, but leaving others behind. Why is that, Karen? They are concerned about others.
I think that's part of our journey to get to that stage of what I guess the Buddhists call loving detachment. So being able to let others have their journey, and sometimes somebody leaving, it's about the people they're leaving, to help them grow and develop, because loss can wake us up, can make us start wondering about life and what else is there. So you're talking about the people who are dying. Yes, I think if we're leaving, that's part of our growth, is to be able to let others have their journey and struggle with things and struggle with the loss even of ourselves.
What is another word for healing?
Oh, another word for healing.
Yeah.
Well, just what we said before: connection, love, openness, acceptance.
Yes, 1 billion times to all of them. Yes.
Probably more, but that's the ones that come to me.
Yeah, resonates true. And 2 more questions. If you knew you would lose the body yourself, leave the body soon, would you make any change or do anything in a different way?
Well, just in 2019, I had an aneurysm on my aorta, ascending aorta, and I was in a situation where I had to lie in a hospital bed for a couple of days because the surgeon was so busy. When they took me there, he said, "I've just overcrowded for the next 2 days, and this operation isn't done very often because most people die because the aorta bursts." So it was discovered, which isn't that common, that to have it discovered. And so I was lying in bed and I thought, I could go any minute. And I could panic. I thought, well, I could panic, but what's the point of that? So I just surrendered and I felt very calm and peaceful. So I've already been close to death, and any changes, I guess, that I needed to make, I've made already. So I'm quite ready to go at any time. I think it is good to be ready to go at any time, if you can, to be in a state of grace.
I love that message, and I love every time I hear that. Yes, I'm living the life I'm supposed to live, and I'm not afraid, or I'm not afraid to let go, basically.
Exactly, and that's important. Can I just say, Valeria, that's important so that you don't get stuck as well. Because I'm helping stuck souls move on. Being prepared and being at peace with it, that's not going to happen. You're going to move on.
And my last question is, what are 3 things about life you know for sure as of this moment?
3 things about life that I know for sure. I know for sure that we go on, that we do not, our physical body does not mean that we die. We continue. 3 things about life. That life is beautiful, and opening to that is one of the best things that you can do, and getting rid of anything in the way. The 3rd thing would be releasing anything that's in the way of believing that life is beautiful. So if you don't, asking yourself, what stops me from believing life is beautiful, and then asking your guides for help and letting that come through and work on it.
And life is beautiful, though. Yeah, I know all the challenges, but it's amazing to be here. Thank you so much, Karen, for your beautiful wisdom, the work you do. It's a compassionate work, sharing your timeless wisdom, and the healing, all the healing that comes through, even by listening to you on this podcast. It's healing. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Valeria. Thank you very much as well. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
Your lovely listeners.
Thank you, Karen. And before we say goodbye, where can we find more information about you, your books, products, services, and future projects?
My website is Life Between Lives, regression.com.au. If you put in Life Between Lives or Past Lives, Regression and Karen Joy, I'll come up on the internet. And my books are on Amazon. I think if you put in Karen Joy and Past Life, that would come up as well, and you would see the books there.
Thank you so much again, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now, Karen.
Bye, Valeria. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Karen Joy and her work, please visit lifebetweenlivesregression.com.au.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.